Hi, I'm Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and in our series on having an embroidery business, we're going to talk about hats. Hats are one of the most lucrative things that you can make, and they're so easy. It's just a matter of understanding how they work. First of all, they're round, so they're not going to go in a flat hoop. We need to use our cap hoop, which is round, and then it will stitch up beautifully. And this works out great on a multi-needle machine because it has a free arm here, so the cap hoop can go around the free arm. So now let's talk about what we need. In the hat set, you get the cap hoop, you get the driver that attaches to the machine, and then you get the mounting jig. Basically, it's a curved table for you to do your hooping on. You need these three things because you can't hoop a round hoop in your lap. You need to have the table for it, and then obviously it won't work without the driver. Now, if you're doing caps and you have a business or you just want to get them done faster, get a second of just the hoop itself, so that way you can have one running and then you can hoop a second hat. So let's go over the cap hoop. Now, there's some clips that come on the hoop. We're going to take those off because we need those later. This is going to go on to our mounting jig. So if you can see on the hoop, can you see this little rectangle right here? There's one here, there's one here, and there is one on the bottom. We're not going to be concerned about the one on the bottom right now. That is when it goes onto the machine. But you'll see that there's this little roller right here, and there's one right here. That's going to go into either one of these, and it holds it in place. So when we put this onto the mounting jig, you're going to want to kind of relax. If you're stressed out thinking that a cap system is going to be difficult and things seem to be going difficult, it's probably because we're making it difficult. This should just slide right on, and then it will clip into those clips, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to go over that again. If I start putting this on and it won't go on, it's probably because I don't have it flat. Okay, now you'll notice that there's these little wings on the cap hoop themselves. This is what we're going to use to push the cap hoop on. And when we do that, we're going to put our fingers on the back side of the table, of the mounting jig, and pinch them together. And we're going to do the same thing when we're working on the machine to the mounting onto the driver itself. So these slide in, and see, didn't go easy. It's because I made it hard. Okay, there we go. And then I put my fingers behind here, my thumbs on the little wings, and snap it into place. When you want to release it, where the little balls are, there's just a little thumb tab. Put your thumbs on that tab, and now put your fingers on the outside of the wings and push with your thumbs and pull with your fingers, and it comes right off. Okay, so very easy. You never really want to just go push, because you're either going to move your table or more seriously, you're going to end up moving the whole machine out of calibration. Now let's look at the ball cap. There's different types of ball caps. This is a structured ball cap because it has the buckram inside. Now, most hats will come with this. This is not stabilizer. This is structure for the hat while it's being packed. But a structured hat has the buckram inside. That it also is not stabilizer. That is structure for the shape of the hat. And you can have low brim, you can have low profile, mid profile, high profile, trucker style hats, flat brims. In fact, if you like doing flat brim hats, there's actually a flat brim cap set that you can get as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this little guy on here. We've already taken off our clips, and I'm going to take this. Let me show you this piece. This is the part that holds on. It's a spring that holds the hoop on. Let me get it rebuckled. It looks like an old style ski boot buckle or a typewriter buckle. I'm dating myself, right? So this just opens up, and then this comes up. Now this spring is actually the part that's going to hold the cap onto the hoop. So I'm going to put this back on, and I've got him Look at that. See, you gotta relax. If I'm making it hard, it's because I did it to myself. Okay, so this is now open because we don't need it. And our bill part is down when you're done, but to get it to move up, you slide it up and tip it around and it goes up and down. And we need it back behind. Okay, so now we're ready to put our cap on. So we're gonna take our cap and we're gonna flip up the sweatband. You don't want the sweatband getting into your embroidery because it will feel uncomfortable and it also will make the hat lay crooked. So we're going to lift that up, and then we're also going to take a piece of cap stabilizer and put that on the hoop. This is a heavyweight tearaway stabilizer made just for caps, and I'm going to slip that on right there. There's a little, I call it a tongue, but I put it right underneath there. And then the sweatband is going to go underneath that tongue as well. Now, hooping a hat is also very simple. So if it's hard, you're making it hard. I'm going to go ahead and undo the back so I have a little bit more open area. And then I'm just going to set it down so I don't blow off my stabilizer. Now, you don't have to manhandle it. You don't have to do anything. But I do want that sweatband up, and I'm going to wiggle that sweatband so it's underneath that little tongue. Can you see that? Okay. Now, it's ready to be hooped. So I've got that in place. Now we'll take this little piece and we put the bill through the two sections, and you'll notice that the section in front has teeth on it. That's going to grip in the seam of the ball cap. So if it doesn't seem to be fitting where you need it to go, I kind of hold down the cap hoop little mechanism to make sure that my hat is kind of how I need it to be. And if it's not, then you can, a couple things you can do. If it's up here, let's see if you kind of want that cap, the spring for the cap hoop to kind of lay naturally and see where it goes. So if your cap is too far, it means it's too far forward. Get it back underneath those teeth. If it's going like this, well, then it needs to sit up a little bit more. So you really should be pretty much running in that seam all the way from left to right. And I just have the little wire hooked around the hook. I don't have it tightened yet, so you can still adjust its position, and then we will give it a tighten. Okay, now that we have all that, we want to get this under there, and it doesn't want to fit. So if you give even pressure up and over and slide it down, then it's going to go right into place. Okay, now before we take this off, we need to get our machine ready. On the top of your arm of your machine, you have two small screws. You take those out. You never have to take out a big screw. No matter what you're working on, you never have to take out a big screw on this machine. So I'm just going to take that off. And it's so easy to switch from one thing to another because you don't have to get out any special tools. They're all just thumb screws. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to loosen up these little the big screws on the bottom. Don't have to take them out, just loosen them up. And now we're going to put the cap driver on the machine. You'll notice that there is a little hole right here. This is what this little peg is going to come through. So if you can come around and take a look, there's a little peg right here. Can you see that? So I'm going to take and I'm going to slip this on, and I'm going to aim, you can stay over here, I'm going to aim that hole in that peg. And so I'm just going to shift it over and then set that in there. Okay. Now these little screws went in, I'm going to take it off so you can see. There's little, the little dovetails there. That's what these big screws, that space between this part and the screw goes right here, and the screw will tighten it down. So I'm going to put this back in again, aim for that little peg. So now before I put the little screws in, I'm going to tighten up the big screws, and I'm going to actually put gentle pressure and push that metal piece so it seats all the way back to that dovetail area, and do the same thing on the screw, the big screw down here. And the reason why I do those first is so I don't forget. If I left them for last, chances are I'm going to forget to do it. Then we're going to put the two screws in the top that hold this on. And now we're ready to do a ball cap. So easy. Okay, now we have our cap on here. We have the stabilizer. We have the brim on. We also want to put our clips in. So I'm going to bring one clip to one side, grab the other clip and put it on the other side. And there's 4 clips. So just do one side, then the other, then go back to the first side, and then do the second side. And then we're going to take this off. Now, you're going to notice it's not perfectly smooth there. That's okay. It's a cap. It's going to be stitched in the round. One thing you do want to be aware of is that there's nothing supporting anything inside. So you don't want to touch here, because they'll crush it and it won't work. Okay, so now we're going to put our cap hoop on, and you're going to notice that you can't put it on. It won't go on this way. So you do need to tip, and I can see that my cap driver is a little bit, it's not centered yet. That's okay. But I'm going to put my thumbs on those wings that we talked about. I'm going to put my fingers behind the driver and pinch it together. Try to stay away from pushing the cap hoop on, because you'll push your arm out of registration, and then either it's going to stitch poorly or it's just going to have to be started over. Okay, so now we're going to come in here. So you see that we have our design right here on the machine, and look up at the top, and it tells us that we have our cap hoop on the machine. This is so cool, because when we go to edit end, look, it flips it upside down, and now it's ready to go. Take a look at the hat. It's actually illuminating the crosshair, so I know it's going to start right in the center, and it's ready to go. Okay, so now to stitch this out, we're going to go to embroidery, and then right now it wants to know which threads are where, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to use the magic wand. So my white color is on spool number 4, so I'm going to go magic wand 4, and then okay, and notice it changed it to 4. The blue I want to use is, let me advance to that. The blue I want to use, let's say I want to do my S in the turquoise, so I'm going to magic wand and say number 2, which it already was on 2, so that's okay. Then I'm going to advance to my last color, and the last color I want to use number 3, I want to use that dark blue. And then okay, and we already saw that our position was right doggone in the center. If it weren't, we could simply move it left and right as we needed to, but we're ready to go. So now to sew, we're going to go lock and then start, and we're going to start sewing. Okay, so isn't that cool? It does it for you. Did you notice how it was cutting the thread? It just automatically switches to the next color. It's ready to go. So now we're going to take it off of the cap driver, off the cap driver. So we're going to put our fingers behind that little piece that's on the hoop, and you see the little round circle. That's where your thumb goes, and we're going to push with our thumbs, pull with our fingers, just the same as we did for the mounting jig, and then rotate it so you can get it off, and then we'll go put it back onto the mounting jig. Now, if you have, I usually take my clips off because it seems like I can get it back on easier. If you have another hat, pop it on and be ready to go. But in this case, we're just going to take it right off, and it's good. The stabilizer can just be pulled away, and then you are ready to take your hat and wear it proudly or give it to a customer, whichever works out. Now, let's talk about getting this guy off. What we're going to do is go down and get those big screws and unscrew them a bit, just enough to come off, not come off, so this can come off, not the screws come off. The top ones we do need to take out all the way, and you will notice that when you first get your cap set out of the box, there will be two little screws right in here, and that is for travel. So you do have to take those off before you start to use it. Then we're done with caps, so we're going to say okay, and we're going to put our regular arm back on. Same thing applies. It just goes in, the peg goes in the hole, and then we put the screw in the one next to it, and it is ready to go. So let's just pop him on, and then we're back to being able to do flat hoops now. All right, so now we're ready to stitch. So thanks for joining us for this little video on how to do caps and how to make money with embroidery.